Rick Ness is in Vegas. Not in the Yukon. Not on a mine site. Not behind a piece of equipment with dirt on his boots and gold on his mind. Rick Ness is in Las Vegas sitting across from Parker Schnabel, and Parker has an offer on the table. A game-changing offer. And the moment you hear that, the moment you let that image sit, you realize this is not a casual catch-up between two miners who know each other. This is a meeting that matters. This is a conversation that has the potential to completely rewrite where Rick Ness goes from here. And every single Gold Rush fan who watched Rick step away from mining, who watched him be honest about what that life was costing him, who respected him for making a decision that had nothing to do with gold and everything to do with survival. Every single one of those fans is going to feel this moment deeply. This is Gold Rush Season 16, Episode 20, Dig Deep or Cash Out, airing this Friday, April 3rd, 2026. I am Oliver Stone, welcome back to the channel, and today we are breaking down everything. Let us get into it. To understand why Rick getting a game-changing offer in Vegas is the biggest storyline of this episode, you have to understand who Rick Ness is, and what his journey in Gold Rush has actually looked like. Rick did not step away from mining because he failed. Rick did not walk away because the gold ran out, or because the operation fell apart, or because he could not compete. Rick stepped away because he reached a point where being honest with himself was more important than keeping up appearances. He looked at what the mining lifestyle was doing to him personally, mentally, emotionally, and he made the hardest call a Gold Rush miner can make. He said, "I need to stop. Not forever. Not because I cannot do this, but because right now continuing is costing me more than I can afford to pay." That kind of honesty in a world built on toughness and grinding and never showing weakness, that took more courage than anything Rick ever did behind a piece of equipment. And the Gold Rush community saw it. And the Gold Rush community respected it. So Rick being in Vegas right now, away from the Yukon, in a completely different environment, sitting across from Parker Schnabel, feels like a chapter turning. It feels like a man who took the time he needed and is now being asked whether he is ready to write what comes next. And Parker putting a game-changing offer on the table is not a coincidence. Parker chose this moment to reach out to Rick. Parker chose Vegas. Parker chose to put something in front of Rick that by definition changes the game. And whatever that offer is, whether it is a partnership, a return to mining under a new structure, a business proposition that brings Rick back into the Gold Rush world in a different capacity, it is the most important thing happening in episode 20. Because it is not about equipment or ounces or seasonal targets. It is about a person deciding who they are going to be next. Now let us think about Parker's side of this, because Parker making this offer tells you something important about where he is in Season 16. Parker Schnabel is one of the most driven and most competitive miners in Gold Rush history. He does not make offers he has not thought through completely. He does not sit across from someone in Vegas and put a game-changing proposition on the table unless he has already calculated why that move makes sense for his operation and his future. So what does Parker see in Rick that makes this offer worth making right now? Parker sees experience. Parker sees someone who knows how to run an operation at the highest level. Parker sees a person whose character was proven not when things were going well, but when things got hard enough to walk away from. And in Parker's world, a world built on results and performance, a person who knows their own limits and is honest about them is exactly the kind of person you want in your corner. Parker is not offering Rick a lifeline. Parker is making a business decision. And that distinction matters because it means this offer comes from a place of respect, not charity. But here is the question that sits underneath all of it, and the question Rick has to answer this Friday. Is Rick ready? Not physically. Not operationally. Rick Ness can run a mining operation that was never in question. The question is whether Rick is in a place where saying yes to this offer is the right decision for him. Because Rick stepping away was the right decision for him at the time he made it. And coming back, on whatever terms Parker is offering, is only the right decision if Rick is coming back from a place of strength and clarity and genuine readiness. Not because the offer is good. Not because Parker is asking, but because Rick Ness is ready. That moment in Vegas where Rick hears the offer and processes it, that is the most important moment in this entire episode. And whatever Rick decides is going to define the final stretch of his season 16 story. Now while Rick and Parker are in Vegas, the rest of the mining world is not standing still. Tony Beets is out in the Hister Cut this Friday hunting for missed gold, and that storyline is one of the most fascinating things Tony has done all season. The Hister Cut is ground Tony has already worked, ground that already had a full mining pass. And Tony is going back in because he believes there are ounces sitting in that cut that slipped through the first time around. Tony already crossed 6,600s this season, over his 6,500s target. So this is not a desperate move. This is Tony Beets operating from experience and instinct, refusing to leave gold in the ground just because the season target is technically already hit. Going back into the Hister Cut is Tony saying there is more here and I am going to go find it. That is the dig deep half of this episode's title made physical. Tony is digging deeper into ground he already worked, because that is what you do when you know there is still gold to be found. Think about what hunting missed gold in the Hister Cut actually demands from Tony. It is not standard production mining where you push fresh material through the wash plant and see what comes out. Going back into work ground requires Tony to read what was left behind, to understand where the gold settled that the first pass did not catch, to position equipment differently, think about the material differently, and apply decades of experience to a puzzle that does not have an obvious answer. This is Tony Beets as a detective, not just a miner. A gold detective going back into the scene of a previous operation to find what everyone else already missed. If Tony finds a rich pocket in the Hister Cut this Friday, it will be one of the most satisfying moments of the entire season. Because it will be proof that experience and instinct find gold that equipment and horsepower alone will never reach. And then there is Parker's crew back at the mine. Because while Parker is in Vegas making game-changing offers to Rick, his team is dealing with a crisis he is not there to manage. Parker's crew loses a truck. In gold mining, a truck is not a luxury, it is the system that keeps everything moving. Trucks carry material from the dig site to the wash plant. Without that link in the chain, the excavator digs but has nowhere to send the material. The wash plant runs but has nothing to process. The entire operation backs up, and every hour the truck is gone is an hour of production that is gone with it. Parker losing a truck while he is in Vegas dealing with the Rick situation is the definition of being pulled in two directions at once. He cannot manage the truck crisis from a Vegas hotel room. He has to trust his crew to handle it. And in Gold Rush, trusting your crew to solve a major equipment problem without the boss standing over it is always a test of the crew, of the systems Parker has built, and of whether his operation can function at the level it needs to without Parker physically present. The truck loss while Parker is away is the dig deep or cash out question applied to Parker's team specifically. Does the crew dig deep, problem solve, adapt, find a solution and keep the operation moving? Or does the absence of Parker and the pressure of the equipment loss make them cash out mentally before the problem is even fully resolved? That is the Parker crew storyline to watch this Friday, and it runs in direct parallel to Parker sitting in Vegas trying to bring Rick back into the Gold Rush world. Two problems, two locations, one Parker, and a season that cannot afford to lose ground on either front. When you sit down this Friday, April 3rd, here is exactly what Oliver Stone wants you locked in on. Watch Rick in Vegas from the moment Parker puts the offer on the table. Do not listen to the words first. Watch Rick's face. Watch the split second before Rick responds. Because that moment, the moment between hearing the offer and choosing how to react to it, is the most honest thing Rick Ness is going to show us in this entire episode. Whatever is happening in Rick's eyes in that second tells you everything about where he really is and whether this offer lands as an opportunity or as pressure he is not ready for. Watch how Rick and Parker talk to each other. These are two miners who have a history in Gold Rush, who know what this life is, who understand the cost of it, and who respect each other enough to have this conversation at all. The dynamic between them in that Vegas meeting is not just two people at a table. It is two people who understand exactly what saying yes or no to this offer actually means. And that shared understanding is going to make every exchange between them carry more weight than the words themselves. Watch Tony in the history cut the moment his team finds something, or does not find something. Tony's reaction to what the ground gives him tells you everything about whether the instinct that sent him back into that cut was right. Tony finding missed gold in work ground would be one of the great Tony Beets moments of season 16. Tony coming up short would be one of the rare moments where the Yukon beats him. Either way, that reaction is worth watching closely. And watch Parker's crew handle the truck loss without him there. Who steps up? Who makes the call? Who holds the operation together when the boss is 1,000 miles away in Vegas? That moment of leadership, or the absence of it, is the Parker crew's defining scene of the episode. This is Gold Rush Season 16, Episode 20, Dig Deep or Cash Out, this Friday, April 3rd, 2026. Rick gets a game-changing offer in Vegas. Tony hunts lost gold in the Hester cut. Parker's crew fights to hold the operation together without a truck and without their boss on site. Dig deep or cash out? Every person in this episode is answering that question in their own way this Friday. And we are going to be right here for every second of it. Drop in the comments right now. What do you think Parker's offer to Rick actually is? And do you think Rick says yes? And do you think Tony finds meaningful gold in the Hester cut? Or does the work ground come up empty? Oliver Stone wants to hear from the Gold Rush family before Friday night. Hit that like button if this breakdown gave you everything you needed. Subscribe if you are not already on the team. Ring that notification bell so you never miss a breakdown or recap. And Oliver Stone will see you Friday night with the full episode 20 reaction the moment it airs. Rick gets a game-changing offer in Vegas. The Yukon can wait. This Friday, the most important conversation in Gold Rush Season 16 happens in Las Vegas. See you Friday.